Good evening and welcome. My name is Robert Miyamoto, and I am staff at the Philadelphia County Medical Society. Tonight, we're hosting a Cybersecurity Essentials webinar with Brian Pickell. Brian leads KPInterface, a leader in providing high-level IT managed services to organizations throughout the United States. He has over 24 years of experience in the IT industry, and he co-founded, owns, and serves as the president and CEO of the company. He's responsible for developing and executing the strategic vision, managing the relationships, and overseeing the leaders who manage the finance, sales, and operations of the company. His mission is to empower businesses through the power of technology, helping them achieve greater security, productivity, and efficiency. He has built a successful recurring revenue model that leverages technology, people, and process to provide creative solutions to his clients. He works in various industries and has built vertical markets in pharmaceuticals and biotech, manufacturing, distribution, finance, staffing, professional services, and nonprofit. He is also an expert in cybersecurity, cloud services, voice over IP, and regulatory compliance. He and his team have been recognized as MSP 501 winners, a Smart CEO Voltage Awards finalist, and a Philadelphia 100 recipient for their innovation and growth. And to see one attendee. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand at any time. I don't think that will be much of an issue.
No problem. Well, thank you for that introduction, Robert. Much appreciated. Appreciate that. Very well done. Tonight, we're going to be covering the topic of cybersecurity with the title of our presentation called An Industry at Risk, obviously referring to the healthcare industry. We're going to go over the present situation and also go over some cybersecurity essentials that the Philadelphia County Medical Society could employ. So we'll get started. Robert gave a great introduction, so I'm going to bypass this, but you can refer to that later. First and foremost, we're just going to go over the agenda for this presentation. What we're going to do is talk about cybersecurity a little bit, understanding the risks that it poses to the healthcare industry, talk about some best practices and basic measures that can be taken, especially about creating a cyber resilient culture in organizations. Talk a little bit about compliance, and then wrap up with how KPI can help and any questions that you might have. So we just started by talking about what cybersecurity is. Obviously, it's a term that's out there very often, and people hear it basically probably almost every day. But what it basically is the protection of the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information and systems now at this point in time, too. We'll talk a little bit more about that. It's a comprehensive approach to protecting data, systems, and organizations through the use of other systems, policies, procedures, training, and culture. Ultimately, cybersecurity is about reducing risk. It's very much akin to keeping the body healthy and reducing the risk of disease. It takes a holistic, comprehensive, 365-degree approach to reducing risk and mitigating the consequences from if an attack does occur, much like if a disease occurs in a patient. So a cyber attack could obviously mean not only interruption of services and this theft of data, but also for huge financial loss to the healthcare organization, as well as patient trust, and as well as the company reputation as well. So this is something to all keep in mind when we're talking about mitigating cybersecurity risk and putting in measures to do so. Obviously, the healthcare industry in particular, is at risk, as all industries really are, but it is important to note that the healthcare industry is particularly targeted because of the fact that it has a significant impact to thousands and millions of people, obviously, across the United States and across the world. Also, because it's such a serious industry, hackers believe and know that healthcare providers and healthcare industry providers are willing to do what it takes to try to mitigate the consequences of an attack, including paying for ransom. So 88% of healthcare organizations have experienced a cyber attack in the last year to varying degrees. Some have had multiple attacks, some have had low-level attacks, some have had very significant attacks, much like Ascension Healthcare had on May 8th of this year. Obviously affecting all 142 hospitals and across 19 states. But what's interesting about it, it's not only an attack on data, which is what we often think about, and theft of data, although it appears that that did happen. But really what's most concerning is the effect it had on the healthcare systems within their places of care. It's been reported that healthcare monitoring systems in patients' rooms, electronic charts, medication scanning, monitoring controls, lab orders, emergency rooms, paging systems, all were affected or were down with this cyber attack on May 8th. The hospitals had to resort to going back to measures they haven't used in some 15, 20 years. And while they're trying to keep everything open, obviously had a significant impact on them and will continue to do so because of lawsuits that have been filed already, et cetera. So the financial impact obviously is going to be substantial, but as I said, it's beyond the financial. It's reputation, it's patient care, it's the morale of the people working at the hospitals. So in this case, it affects a large, more than just data and more than just financial concerns. Common cybersecurity threats include such things as ransomware, which is where someone has something, data typically that's taken and typically encrypted, and then holds that at ransom until someone pays them. But data breaches of all sorts could be insider threats, or whether they be intentional or unintentional. Internet of Thing device attacks, and this is what we're talking about to some degree when we talk about devices that are connected to systems, network systems, like the things we just talked about in the hospitals. I quickly will tell you that I went to a hotel in Nashville back in April, and when we got there, they could not register us properly, and they certainly could not give us a key to our rooms for about 3 or 4 days because they had been attacked and those systems were down. So they had literally had to have somebody on every floor of the hotel letting everybody into the room anytime they wanted to go in. So it goes beyond just data. It attacks all kinds of systems. So healthcare companies typically spend a lot of money on a breach. The average is roughly $11 million, at least last year. And typically then most other industries, because of the sensitive nature of what they do, what they provide, and the information that they have. Now, cybersecurity is enormous, and it's very comprehensive, and it involves many, many different aspects of controls, including policies, procedures, training, and everything else. But today we outlined really what we consider, the basic building blocks of cybersecurity. And if you can start here and get these in place, then of course you can expand upon that and get more sophisticated. But we're going to cover these things: assess and update, educate and control, encrypt and protect, and prepare and plan in the next couple of slides here. First of all, assess and update. We highly recommend, of course, that each network environment, each IT environment is assessed on a regular basis. A one-time assessment will not do. Typically, a minimum of at least once a year, but oftentimes more than once a year. And the main reason is because the threat environment changes nearly daily, and you need to ensure that you have mitigated all cybersecurity risk in the environment. Of course, keeping system updates is also critical, as someone like Microsoft releases them every single week. And it's important that not only Microsoft, but all devices that are tied to the network are receiving regular updates as cybersecurity patches are released. The benefits of this, obviously, to minimize the attack surface by fixing those vulnerabilities and keeping the healthcare provider compliant with industry standards and regulations. The next area is educate and control. The basic thing is to make sure all employees of the organization are educated and kept up to speed with the cybersecurity threats they're most likely to face. Now, if you talk a little bit more about compliance, it's going to be about protecting, obviously, PHI and PII, but it is important regardless to do regular cybersecurity training because, again, for the same reasons, things change. The way in which we may have been attacked 3 years ago is a lot different than it may be today. Most cybersecurity breaches do typically occur because somebody inadvertently did something. They clicked on something, they opened something, they gave credentials accidentally. So it's oftentimes innocuous in terms of their intentions, but obviously has severe consequences. So knowing that that's your weakest link is the people, it's important to provide that training and education. Obviously, controlling access for people is also ideal. Typically, nowadays, we take a zero trust approach to giving people any access to anything, which means everybody starts at zero, and you're only given access to things that you absolutely need, and nothing more than that. So that is the standard nowadays when it comes to control and access. And of course, using advanced methods for better control is important. Not only passwords and comprehensive passwords, but also at least two-factor authentication methods are a standard now. It's not even ideal. It's a standard that we need to have in place. Encrypting and protecting. So obviously, when it comes to data, we have very important information in terms of, again, PHI and PII, and it's important to encrypt all patient data, whether at rest on a system or in transit from one system to another, to prevent unauthorized access, because oftentimes hackers will tap in to those systems, and if a device is left unencrypted, obviously it's easy to take that information, whereas if it is encrypted, it's more likely that they will not be able to steal that information. Obviously, employing various types of protection solutions in place, from endpoint protection to firewalls to all kinds of endpoint management that exist out there. There's many others out there, including monitoring of all aspects of the network, logins, network traffic, of course, and something that's a little newer is proactive threat hunting, looking for potential dangers that are out there before they actually are any kind of breach or problem. The benefits of this, obviously, to increase confidentiality and integrity of patient data and reduce the likelihood of a cyber breach and its consequences. Prepare and plan. If you experience a breach, you want to make sure that you have a plan to quickly and effectively respond. This is really important. There's no time, and I guess in the healthcare industry, I'm sure with emergencies being so common, there's a lot of practice that goes into ensuring that when the most difficult, worst situation happens, that healthcare providers are ready to handle it. When it comes to cybersecurity, it's really not that much different. We want to know what the plan is ahead of time. We want to test the plan ahead of time. We want to modify the plan on a regular basis, typically at least annually again. We want to review it and update it. But having an incident response plan and a disaster recovery plan is a way to ensure quick restoration of data and systems with minimal interruption. So that's key. And again, backups are still huge. Backups are still a very, very important way to mitigate the damage that could be caused. If you have proper backups in place that are properly configured, first of all, you can prevent the hackers from getting to those backups. But secondly, if they do steal the data or encrypt the data, you should be able to restore it with proper backups in place. So and again, you want to minimize that downtime with this, and you want to make sure the organization stays resilient against and be able to recover from any cyber incidents that occur. Next is really, though, it's one thing to put in the systems and do some training, et cetera, but it really requires an organization to be and create a cyber resilient culture. And I always like to start from the very top of the organization down. It's very common in my practice that even when we have clients that do adopt cybersecurity measures and do adopt best practices, Sometimes the C-level executives, like myself, are a little bit averse to taking all the measures that everybody else is. And I really find it important that those companies where everybody participates is more likely to have a better situation in terms of mitigating their cybersecurity risk. So that commitment from leadership, not only in participating, but in committing the resources, the time, the financial resources that are involved in a cybersecurity investment is critical to start. Beyond that, comprehensive training, as we already mentioned, for all employees is essential. Regular discussion about cyber preparedness, as we mentioned a little bit, making that a priority. Doing some cyber attack simulations is kind of like next level, but it really is a good thing to do once you have your cybersecurity in place. Do test on it, whether it could be an external penetration test, but you can also do internal testing as well on what might happen if a cyber attack happened. And then finally, making sure that incident report system is not only there in place, but is known by all people who need to know, so that communication is key when something like this happens. And compliance, of course. I mean, a very big topic in the healthcare industry for many years now, at least 15 years or more. But compliance with HIPAA and HITRUST are critical now for the healthcare industry. HIPAA obviously has been established a long time and has been known. Although I do find a lot of providers who still don't, and I'm talking healthcare providers, obviously, who still don't take it as seriously as they should. They don't necessarily are committed. It goes back to that commitment of investing the time, energy, and money to making sure they follow it. But it's important to follow these guidelines to protect the rights of patients and their data, and to make sure that we mitigate anything should anything ever happen. But again, educating employees is important. We happen, as we are a provider to healthcare organizations and a business associate, we do require not only regular cybersecurity training for our people, but also HIPAA training as well as it relates to the healthcare industry. So we're very familiar, and we are verified by one of the partners that we work with called the Compliancy Group. And then high tech is really another standard that's out there to really focus on further enforcement and enhancement of HIPAA, and also for protecting that data, but also HITRUST, which is a framework that's been established to give guidance on how systems and organizations should be set up for proper cybersecurity protection. How we can help, if anybody's interested, is we can conduct everything from tailored assessments to uncover vulnerabilities and risks, and provide some feedback and recommendations and a roadmap of where you can go in your cybersecurity journey. Obviously, manage cybersecurity, everything from like a CIO level or CISO level of management and guidance we can do, as well as implementing and monitoring systems and reviewing those on a regular basis to make sure that companies are compliant. And then also, and that includes a training as well. We can provide that as well. Ongoing consultancy, of course, going forward with anybody who needs it. We can be there for you, give you guidance, whether it's dealing with health, with cyber liability insurance, whether it's dealing with vendors you might work with, anything in that regard, or as things change and the standards change, we can be there to consult and help. So that is really the whole of our presentation today on cybersecurity risk and health as it pertains to healthcare providers. For now, we'll ask if there's any questions anybody may have. Gloria and Mona and some others are out there. If you have any questions, feel free. And if you don't, that's okay too. Anybody else? Robert, do you have any questions? You're muted for now, I think, Robert.
No, but I would like to say that for the people who came in a little late, we are recording this program, and so we'll have that uploaded and we'll provide the link to you and to everyone who signed up for this program tonight.
Great. Yeah, so we'll send all the information out. If anybody has any questions, Robert or you can contact us. Be more than willing to
Yes.
help, or just have it, even if it's just a chat about some thoughts or concerns you might have. We are happy to take those calls from you or emails and respond accordingly and help you out any way we can. Okay.
And thank you so much for speaking tonight. I think this was a very valuable topic for our membership, and so we'll definitely be promoting this program, the recording of the program. So hopefully more people will get to see it.
Great. Very good. Well, thank you, Robert. Appreciate your time and the Society's time. Thank you very much.
And thanks everyone for coming in tonight.